Arch-terrorist Yahya Sinwar's life has come to an end. There's an official story, but I'm not buying it. Today we're going to talk about what data points we have to reach a conclusion about with this elimination, and what I think may have actually happened. I'm Evan Goldstein. I'm a licensed engineer and a data scientist, and I'm creating AI Capitalist to help you use the data at hand to reach accurate conclusions. One of the first things that you learn in data science is to look at the conclusions that your model reaches and test them against the real world, like a detective story. In the case of Sinwar, the pieces that I'm seeing don't quite add up, at least the pieces that we've been given. So before I dive into this topic, I'm going to have to go over a few euphemisms. The YouTube algorithm is famous for suppressing and demonetizing and blacklisting content that uses certain keywords, and one of the two ongoing conflicts in the world is one of the topics that they try to suppress. Not that I'm knocking YouTube, they give me a great platform and they help me publish my content. But still, we have to tread lightly and avoid angering the YouTube gods. So think of the two major wars being fought in the world today. Adjust this. One of them is in a small country on the Mediterranean Sea. We're going to use the local pronunciation for this country, and we're going to call it Yisrael. Now, there's a group of unsavory characters who, about 1 year ago, carried out a massive attack against Israel, in which hundreds of the country's citizens were killed, and dozens of men, women, children, and babies were abducted. Many didn't survive the abduction, and according to their testimony, a lot of the women were sold into slavery. Now, we're going to refer to this network as Hummus. So the leader of Hummus, Sinwar, is credited with planning and organizing the attack, as well as maintaining its secrecy. Israel is protected by two security apparatuses within the state: the Shabak, which takes care of internal security, much like America's FBI, and the Mossad, which carries out international espionage, much like the American CIA. In the case of this attack, the secrecy was so airtight that Sinwar was able to catch Israel's security apparatus completely by surprise, which led to a much more lethal and horrific outcome to the attack. Now, bit by bit, over the last year, Israel has been able to penetrate and eliminate the leadership of Hummus. It has also rescued some hostages. However, 6 Israeli hostages held by Hummus were unalived around August 29th. These were later revealed to be Sinwar's human shields based on DNA samples taken from toilet paper discovered nearby. It seems that the army of Israel got too close, and Sinwar decided to lose the hostages to be able to move around more quickly. Sinwar evaded capture or elimination until October 16th. The official story is that a Israel army unit of trainees was on patrol in an area that had been cleared of civilians, but was occupied by Hummus. The patrol spotted 3 individuals and engaged. One of them broke off from the group while the other 2 tried to carry out a diversion. The 2 were quickly dispatched, and the individual who had hidden himself in a bombed-out building was discovered by a drone doing reconnaissance. The drone spotted a masked, robed individual in a chair who was missing an arm, and the individual threw a stick at the drone. A nearby tank then fired and destroyed the building this person was in. The next day, the army went out into the ruined building to investigate, and they were able to locate a body. The soldiers who located the body immediately noticed that it looked an awful lot like Yahya Sinwar. He was found with 10,000 Israeli shekels and a fake visa on his body. Within a few hours, DNA tests confirmed that he had in fact been eliminated. This was Sinwar. Lucky break, pop the champagne corks, case closed, right? So there's just one gaping hole in this whole timeline, in this whole story. And that's the gaping hole that was in Sinwar's head. The autopsy report, released later, revealed that he had died from traumatic brain injury caused by a bullet. Photographs of the body back this up. I'm not going to show them here because they're a little gory, but they were printed onto leaflets and dropped from aircraft to the local civilian population to prove that Sinwar was over. There were tank shell fragments in the body as well, but the bullet to the head was definitely the cause of death. The official story didn't mention a sniper or a firefight in the building, so something's a little fishy, right? A few more questions that come to mind looking at the report. Why did they wait until the next day to fish his body out of the building? Now, I'm not familiar with standard army procedures. Maybe there was a reason for this, but it seems like you would want to go and make sure you had neutralized the guy on the same day, hopefully like within 5 minutes, so he doesn't get away if he's not done. Hopefully as soon as possible. Also, it's odd that I can't actually see the face of this person in the video. Previous terror gangsters were known to travel dressed in women's clothing to escape the authorities, but the fact that he was shown in women's clothing means that we have to take the Army's word for who the individual in the photograph is. Okay, so what's my theory of the case? With someone like Yahya Sinwar, you want to take him alive. Unlike previous terror gangs, his security was so airtight that the Shabak and the Mossad were unable to penetrate his organization. One of the ways that he kept security airtight was by keeping information on a need-to-know basis only and not communicating electronically. Everything was hand-passed notes, face-to-face conversations, and runners. The central location for all of this information existed inside of Sinwar's head. If you were in the Shabak's shoes, you would have a lot of questions. Where are the stolen babies? Which hummus slaveholders did you sell the abducted women to? What's your crypto password? How are you getting funds? Where are your file servers located? The complication in capturing him is that Yisrael has no death penalty. So if Sinwar were captured, he would presumably live a long, healthy life in prison. He would serve as an inspiration for further generations to take hostages that they could later exchange for Sinwar's release. Since the massacre of last year, with a hostage crisis of such a magnitude, the gloves have really come off. Israel's liberal Supreme Court allows for interrogations of, shall we say, an enhanced nature. And that's specifically in the case of a ticking bomb. A ticking bomb is when a Hamas member knows of an impending attack and lives are on the line. But the limits of enhanced interrogation are pretty well defined. In reality, Hamas members have all been well trained in resisting interrogation. It would probably be necessary to go beyond the limits defined by the Supreme Court to extract any useful information from them. So on one hand, you need to capture Sinwar, you need to go beyond the limits of the law to question him, and on the other hand, you need him to not be alive anymore at the end of it. So what's my theory of the case? I suspect that at the time that Sinwar unalived the hostages on August 29th, it was a last desperate move as the army closed in on him. I suspect that Sinwar was captured alive. Despite their extolling the virtues of martyrdom, very few of the people running these terror gangs actually look forward to the garden of heavenly delights in the afterlife. I suspect that the Shabak went to town on the guy and did everything they could think of to get the critical information out of his head. Remember, he was found armless. Last time he'd been seen in public, and based on all the information publicly available, his arm was still attached before his last sighting.
What now? Let me tell you what now. I'ma call a couple of hard pipe-hitting niggas to go to work on the homes here with a pair of pliers and a blowtorch. You hear me talking, hillbilly boy? I ain't through with you by a damn sight. I'ma get medieval on your ass.
After question and answer time was done, somebody put this hole in his head. Now, for a normal Hamas member, Shabak could just bury him in one of the 300 miles of tunnels that he had built, or claim that he was KIA, or just not mention it at all. But with Sinwar, in order to put an end to the war, his followers would need to know that he was no longer alive. So it was necessary to produce his remains in such a way that his demise was within the bounds of the Western rules after going Middle Eastern on him. Maybe he did give him information on, say, major donors, money movers, or arms suppliers to Hamas. If so, Shabak wouldn't want those people to be alerted to the fact that they had been exposed before the Mossad had a chance to pay them a courtesy call. As for the official story, the whole story with the patrol was probably true, at least from the soldiers' perspective. They engaged and eliminated 3 Hamas members, and they came back to the site the next day to find Sinwar's remains, which could easily have been planted on the site. It has just the right combination of audacity, desperation, and sloppiness to be true. None of this would be technically against the rules of Western warfare anyway, given that the Geneva Conventions do not apply to non-uniformed combatants hiding in a civilian area. If it's true, hopefully they got some information out of him. It's also possible that the official story is true. Maybe he was hit with a stray bullet or a sniper. Although we would expect that to have been part of the official story. We could even chalk it up to the fog of war. There are really an infinite number of possible explanations for this story. All I'm saying is that certain facts don't fit into place based on the information that we've been given. Someday someone's going to blab, or an archive somewhere is going to be leaked, and we're going to know for sure.